I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, December the 20th, brought to you in part by Joplin Regional Stockyards. Last sale of the year is here today on Monday, 4,500 head expected, which is pretty sizable sale here for getting this close to the holidays, but this is indeed the last sale of any kind they'll have there at Joplin Regional Stockyards till next year. The stockyards will be closed until New Year's Day, when they will start taking cattle in for the next sale, which will be January the 3rd. They've got a regular sale plus a yearling special on January the 3rd, and then that Thursday they're going to be having a value-added special on January the 6th, and then a primetime livestock video to follow that value-added sale. So you guys get those things marked down on your calendar. Holidays, I tell you what, the next couple of weeks is just going to be pretty shady as far as your markets. There's not going to be any consistency at all to your markets. Most of your sales, your entire southeast is going to be completely closed all of this week and all of next week. So there'll be no shipping of cattle, no order buyers working out in the southeast or any of that kind of thing. Now you get in the center part of the country, there will be some sales. Now there'll be some sales on Monday and Tuesday here. May see an outside sale on Wednesday, but it won't amount to anything. And you wonder, well, why? And well, you know, I know that Christmas is not till Saturday, but by the time those cattle get to where they're going, it's going to be Friday or Saturday. Well, they always work those cattle when they get them to where they're going. The people that work in those facilities, they want to spend time with their families too. So you have to think about that. The truck drivers, they need some time off, everybody. And so, you know, it's just pretty sketchy. I personally wouldn't sell cattle or try to get cattle crammed in a sale here between now and next year, unless you just absolutely have to do it, or you kind of have a deal going. But, you know, once we get back on January the 3rd, and then that week, we'll be back with tight supplies of market-ready fed cattle. Your packers are going to be wanting to speed up the chains, and things should kind of get back to where they were week before last. Now, is the market's going to be stronger when we come back for the new year? That's hard to say. But with your feedlots kind of going 2 weeks without buying any cattle, they're probably going to be ready for some cattle. It all depends upon the weather. If the weather stays open like it is, you know, it should be pretty good when we come back from the New Year's. But it's just going to be hard to count on any kind of consistency from the board, from your feeder markets, from the little dab of fat cattle negotiated trade that we're going to have. Even the feeder flash here, we're going to have a couple of visits here this week. And then there's just not going to be anything to talk about, and I could just get up on my soapbox and ramble, I guess, or tell dirty jokes and things like that, but you guys don't want to listen to that. But I'm not going to have any markets to focus on once we get on past like Tuesday, so just not going to be a lot going on. But talk about what happened this past week. Now we've heard that the packers are only going to kill 4 days this week for the most part, so not going to be a whole lot of Christmas Eve slaughter. I doubt that, you know, there won't be any Saturday slaughter at all. And then the next week, New Year's Eve is going to be on Friday again, and they're likely going to let most of their workers off for that. A lot of these frontline workers are going to be getting bonuses for the first time ever to kind of reward them for staying with them and getting through the pandemic and just the rough year that we've had. So good for them. We saw the winds middle of last week that were just terrible. We saw all the death and destruction, you know, from the tornadoes that happened, you know, east there in Kentucky and surrounding areas before that. But then the really high winds, straight line winds that came in on Wednesday there, and over 100 miles per hour clock gusts in Kansas, places like that. They had some pretty severe range fires in Kansas near Russell and Ellsworth counties there. Guys lost a lot of equipment there, a lot of their barns and homes and of course all their grass and everything. Lost a lot of cattle in some of those fires there. And I've heard some people, I've had some people ask me where they could send relief. And if I knew of anybody that was trustworthy to send relief to, and I actually don't. I don't know if there's been a fund set up or for those that were hit the worst. I've heard some people that would like to donate to that. If you do, send a message in here or something, and we'll sure advertise that for you. If indeed it's a fund that they don't keep money out of, that it all goes back to those that are affected the worst. Last week we also heard that China had come back into the import market for Brazilian beef after being out of it for 3 months, and then we kind of wondered to ourselves, how come China shut down Brazilian imports for 3 months due to the BSE scare and we didn't? I don't understand. They're a socialist country there, but they're worried more about their consumers than we are, or what? Or maybe it's because Brazil owns half of our big four packers, probably more the latter. But we had that go on. But this is just going to be a long 2 weeks here of holidays. Hope you guys enjoy it. But not going to be a lot of action going on here in the markets. But let's talk about your board for last week. December live cattle futures. Monday was up just 10 cents. Tuesday down 17. Wednesday was down the big day, down $1.77. Thursday back up 27, and then Friday down 52 with your December live cattle futures ending the week at 134.75. That was down $2.10. February contracts ended the week at 136.42, and that's not even as high as what our weighted average is going to be for this past week, but that doesn't bode real well for much higher markets. But that 136.42 for February is down $1.65 for the week. January feeder cattle contracts, Monday was up 65 and then down hard all the rest of the week. Tuesday down 95, Wednesday down $1.15, Thursday down 85, Friday down 232, with our spot feeder cattle board finally getting more in line with what cash prices are, but ended the week with January feeder cattle at 160 and a quarter. That was down $4.62. And that is getting more in line with what our index levels are as we start to move in to the month of January here before long. March feeder cattle contracts ended the week at 161.70, down $3.60 there. Look at some of your grains. March corn ended the week at 5.93 and a quarter. It is likely to get over $6, and that's going to change everybody's mindset once we do break into the $6 region on your March corn. And Kansas City, a hard red winter wheat there for March ended the week at 8.10. That's just unbelievable how high that's gotten. And soybeans for March at 12.85 and a quarter. So they're all up there pretty darn good. Talk about your fat cattle trade. Last week up through Thursday, which is the last information we have all put together, only 35,200 head confirmed negotiated. That compares to just 52,200 head the week before, and then you remember the week before that when we got the high price, we had nearly 100,000 in your 5-area feeding region. But your prices last week were lower. Cash sales $2 to $3 lower, with fat steers and heifers selling from 134 to 140 in your 5-area feeding region direct. Weighted average up through Thursday on live steers was 137.18. That was about $1.50 lower than it was the previous week at the same time. Dressed steers and heifers $1 to $2 lower, from 216 to 220. Your weighted average on dressed steers at 218.42. That was down about $1.25 on the weighted average compared to the previous week's weighted average at the same time. On Friday, we didn't have much trade at all, so our pure negotiated sales aren't going to be much bigger than what I told you. Didn't have anything in Colorado on Friday. Iowa about 1,300 and less than 13,000 for the week. Live sales 137 to 138 on Friday in Iowa, 217 to 219 dressed. Nebraska about 600 head confirmed on Friday, and just a little over 13,500 there confirmed for the week. All they had was dress sales at 218 on Friday. Kansas and Texas both didn't even have 100 head confirmed on Friday. Together, they didn't even sell 11,000 head. But few in Texas that got reported were at 133.50, and that's the lowest that we saw reported all week, and it was at the end of last week. And I tell you what, unless guys just absolutely have to sell cattle, I wouldn't even entertain any bids this week at all, and then maybe not even next week. But they'll probably get in gear next week, New Year's week after Christmas, because they'll be gearing up for the big full week, the first full week of the new year. Box beef cutout values were down hard last week. Choice cuts, your weighted average on all of last week's sales, 262.03. That was down $4.72 from your weighted average the previous week. But your Friday afternoon sales were a touch higher than that, right at 263. Select, so your weighted average on all of last week's sales, 249.26. That was down nearly $5, down $4.85. And your Friday late afternoon sales were a little bit lower than that yet. So, I don't know where we're going to find a bottom on your box beef. We're just not going to have a lot of buying demand now until we get into the new year. Your slaughter for last week was very disappointing, and we noted that there was at least 3 major plants in the Midwest there that ended up having to shut down part of their second shift due to the high winds, and it knocked about 10,000 head off of our weekly slaughter there. And our slaughter for last week estimated at 657,000. That was down 11,000 from the previous week and up 2,000 from the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. My friend Steve Hashey there in Lake Preston, South Dakota, has Hashey Insurance with his son John. They're good people, been into farming, been into purebred cattle business, crop insurance, done a little bit of everything, and they can definitely help you out if you have some insurance needs. And they specialize in crop insurance, of course. Got all kinds of life insurance options there that you guys can look into that could be a good investment for you guys as you go through the future, and basically you can finance yourself through some of those policies. And then of course the livestock policies like the LRP and what have you there can help you out. But check out Hashey Insurance on Facebook or go to HasheyInsurance.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle markets. Your real-time index ended the week last week at 158.95. That was through your Saturday sales. That was down $2.35 compared to the end of the previous week. And we did see some tougher markets around. Now, if you had some true yearlings, they'll still bring it all. There's just not any left. Noted last week, they had like 15,000 cattle in Oklahoma City at the Oklahoma National Stockyards. Had hardly any true yearlings there. And it's just those big giant calves that are pulling your index levels down, because we don't have any of those hard yearlings that we've been selling on for the last 4, 5, 6 months. Let's talk about your cash feeder trends for last week in your auctions. Now your feeder cattle were unevenly steady to $3 lower. And like I said, it's mostly because those are just big calves and they're not going to feed like the yearlings, and we're just out of them. Now you see some show up once in a while, and then man, what they bring will absolutely open your eyes, but just not enough of them. And then on your big feeding cattle, we didn't see any losses on the ones weighing over 900 pounds. This feed's getting so high, these cost of gains are so high, that no longer is it a rule that the heavier they are, the less they're going to bring. Sometimes, it's costing so much to put a pound on these things. Your 9-weight cattle are actually selling and averaging in a lot of sales better than your 8-weight cattle. Now, part of that is because some of those 8-weight cattle were just big calves, and so that was hurting that. But still, your heavier cattle are selling a lot better in comparison to your lighter cattle than they have for quite a while, because we haven't seen really high feed costs for quite some time. So we talked about our feeders being unevenly steady to $3 higher, except for your big heavyweights, or $3 lower, excuse me. Calves were steady to $3 higher. Still, guys buying cattle to a dry winter and things like that. Still had some really nice reputation strings of calves coming in Now, a lot of the calves have been longer weaned now that we're getting later into the year or into the new year, but later into the season. And we've had some cold weather, and we've even had snow on a lot of our cattle, not just up in the northern regions. So that gives people more confidence in buying those calves and straightening them out. But it kind of broke out on 600 pounds. Under 600 pounds, calves were higher. Over 600 pounds, your calves were lower. And like I said, no yearlings. Let's talk about some of your sales late last week. Fort Scott Livestock Market there in Fort Scott, Kansas. Look at these loads of yearling steers here. I say yearlings, they're feeder type steers. Some of them be true yearlings. Weighing from 775 to 900 pounds there. And then they were sold in a pretty square range there from 150 to 160. Now if you look at this, it's interesting that the 150 is on the lightest load that I was quoted there, and the 160 is on the heaviest load, weighing over 900 pounds. So that just kind of explains what I was trying to tell you guys just a minute ago. I was out in Fallon, Nevada last Friday at Nevada Livestock Marketing. Had about 4,300 head there. Big sale. They've got specials coming up here on January the 7th and the 21st. Both feeder cattle specials, and those will be big sales. But if you need to sell some cattle, get a hold of Jack Payne there at Nevada Livestock Marketing. And for sure, if you're interested in buying some of those cattle, you want to plan on attending those sales or getting on to dbauction.com and bidding online. But had one really big long string of light calves there. They had bought those calves just a few months ago, weighing in the 2s and low 3s there, but come up with 211 head of 486 pound black and black baldy steers. They'd had them on a brewer's byproduct ration there. Cattle looked really nice there, but bring $186, weighing nearly 5 way out west, which is pretty respectable. How about Glasgow Stockyards there in Glasgow, Montana? They sold 66 head, 546 pound steer calves at 191. But the best quote that I saw anywhere late last week or over the weekend was at a Magnus Livestock Market in Huron, South Dakota. They sold 58 head of 624 pound steers at $178.50. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.